So, earlier this week we discussed one of the largest vessels in most Rebel fleets, the Nebulon B frigate. Well, today we're going to discuss one of the smallest and most confusing vessels in Rebel fleets, the GR-75 transport. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So, the GR-75 is a fairly significant ship in the history of the Rebel Alliance, simply for their presence at nearly every major battle. They were there from the very early days of the Rebellion, fighting with early Rebel cells like Phoenix Cell, all the way through to the Battle of Jakku, where they were there in massive numbers. Now, it's fascinating, and there's been debate for a while about what role these ships played in the Rebel Alliance. And today we're going to dive into what we know about these ships, but we're going to start out like we always do with the numbers. The GR-75 transport, built by Gallifrey Yards, is roughly 90 meters long, and while we don't know its primary sublight engines, we do know that it has a primary hyperdrive that is a Class 4, and a backup that is a Class 15, making it actually relatively slow in the scheme of Rebel ships in hyperspace, but still capable. As for weaponry, the original GR-75s that rolled off the assembly line when the ship first entered production had no weaponry at all, but there was later a combat refit added to this design, which added 4 light laser turrets to the vehicle, giving it a sort of minor combat potential. But its main intended purpose was transporting cargo, and so these lasers were primarily defensive tools. All in all, the ship also didn't need a large crew to operate, which was good for the Rebel Alliance, which was always a little bit short on manpower. The GR-75 only needed a crew of 7 to be operational. And these 7 crew members and their ship could carry 19,000 tons of cargo, which is what the ship is primarily designed for. It is, as the name suggests, a transport designed to carry these standardized shipping containers from one place to another. In fact, they're designed to just sort of fly down and magnetically lock these shipping containers, with the ship being mostly hollow on the inside to just fill the interior of this vessel up with these standardized hexagonal containers, which could then be transported from one place to another relatively easily and dropped off without the cumbersome requirement of a cargo bay or a large loading door. Now, this is actually a huge benefit to an organization like the Rebel Alliance, which has to remain mobile and constantly be able to move at a moment's notice if their location is discovered. So a transport that can operate really quickly using standardized shipping containers that are easily acquired by the Rebel Alliance, and that can sort of deploy these transports really rapidly and get supplies off a planet quickly, that's a perfect fit for that kind of faction. So it's not surprising that a lot of these ended up serving in the Rebel Alliance, but there's also a little bit of history as to how they got there. They were originally designed, like I said, by Gallifrey Yards, whose full name is Gallifrey Fleet Yards, but that's a little bit of a tongue twister, so I will just refer to them as Gallifrey Yards. Anyway, Gallifrey Yards was originally an independent corporation operating during the early days of the reign of the Empire, and they started manufacturing these transports, and while they were relatively successful, Gallifrey ultimately suffered economic hardship and would start to collapse before being purchased by Kuat Drive Yards and shut down. But in that purchase, a lot of these GR-75s ended up on the market or simply going missing, and many of them found their way into the hands of the Rebel Alliance or Rebel sympathetic factions, who would then donate these ships to the Rebel Alliance. The end result is the Rebellion had a massive fleet of GR-75s, many with the combat upgrade featuring some light laser cannons, so they were a significant portion of the tonnage of the Rebel fleet, and they played important logistic roles, but there are some confusing aspects to where they ended up in combat. And, well, I don't want to step on any other YouTubers' toes, because a lot of people have covered this. There is some mysteries surrounding why they were involved in these battles, where they sent in for target saturation, or was there a large transport need? Was there a variant we don't know about that was more heavily armed? There's a lot of potential solutions, but the big mystery is the fact that basically every major space battle we see the Rebel Alliance participate in, these ships are present in the fleet, which, once again, they're almost entirely dedicated transports, so while you'd send them into a combat situation is kind of beyond me. That being said, we do see them serving this transport role pretty directly during engagements like the Battle of Hoth, where once Imperial fleet elements in orbit had been disabled by the ion cannon, a GR-75 escorted by a small flight of X-Wings would proceed up from the surface of the planet and jump to light speed, which is exactly the way these ships were designed to be used, a light and variable fast transport. And that's the role that they ended up playing throughout most of the history of the Rebel Alliance. It's kind of interesting that, while we do see them a lot in space battles, which is a big sort of mystery, we also see them a lot landed at nearly every major Rebel base, simply waiting for the order to load up the crates and get out of there if that base is ever discovered. And we also see that when these ships do end up in combat, they're usually sitting ducks, easy prey for Imperial fighters and capital ships, which simply tear them apart. So, as a result, they do end up needing larger vessels to escort them and a fleet around them to protect them, and one of those ships that would have ended up in that role is the Nebulon B escort frigate, like its name suggests. If you'd like to learn more about the Nebulon B, which was one of those major vessels that formed the backbone of the Rebel Navy, I'll leave a link up here to my video breaking down the Nebulon B. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments what you think the GR-75s were used for in combat. When they sent fleets of GR-75s into, like, the battle spaces of Scarif and Endor, what do you think they were really doing there? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars or anywhere else in science fiction, you can also leave that down below. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.